Okay. I'm going to have to mute at some point in like, I don't know, probably the next 10 minutes. I'll have my nephew coming back. So the dogs will be
No
going
worries.
crazy.
All right, guys. So what is going on, everybody? It's Sacktown Pete back at it again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. As I mentioned, today I'm going to have a very special guest on, and I do have this guest on. I've been wanting to get this guest on for quite some time, and it was perfect timing today to have this person on. So I want to introduce Jillian Adge. She covers the Sacramento Kings team as well, and she has her own platform as well. Want to welcome her on the channel. This is the first time, and having her as the first time as a guest. Jillian, welcome. And just for people that are watching, that usually watch my YouTube content that are not aware of you, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yeah, no, thank you for having me on. Born and raised in Sacramento, and I've been a lifelong Kings fan. Sorry, the dogs are starting to go crazy.
You're good.
Lifelong Kings fan. My parents had season tickets when I was little. I was born in 85. The Kings came here in 85. My parents had season tickets when we were younger. And so, we shared it with family. So we would go together, and it kind of just became a thing where we had it as family tickets, but it was always ended up being my dad and I going. So it was kind of our thing. And then my high school years is when they were really good. So that was like the perfect time, right, to be around. And we had friend trips where we like traveled to Portland for Portland games. And there was one trip where we did that. And we actually ended up having Adelman and his wife on the flight with us. And they sat with us the whole time and just talked to us, asked us, how we were doing. Did everybody treat us okay? Because they came from there. So it was like, let us know if we need to talk to anybody. But just really cool experiences where in Sacramento, where, I was out at a PF Chang's one time and in comes Chris Webber and Tyra Banks, right? Like, it's just, and it's like, hey, FYI, we're going to sit him at this table. Are you okay with that? Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah. But they can go out and they can do things and we don't bug them, right? Like they're able to just, live like that, which I think is not necessarily the case in a lot of places. But so those high school years were really exciting. And then once I got older, I ended up going into season tickets with my dad. And so we just had ours. And then, in came social media, ended up meeting so many people through there. And at that point, I ended up getting a regular everyday job. I'm a state worker, and the opportunities for women in sports still weren't, prevalent back then. It was growing up. I always wanted to be, the sideline Susie, right?
Absolutely.
And you're seeing more and more of opportunities come about, which is really cool. And Damian Barling reached out to me last year and gave me the opportunity to be a co-host with him. Nice. And now he's doing big things at ESPN 1320. And so it's me and Sam now. He's my new co-host. So we're doing the Hoop Ball Kings podcast on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And so that's just a way for me to channel my passion, that I love of sports and Kings while still, having my everyday job. But yeah, and so just have kind of gained followers through Twitter and Facebook when that was kind of a thing. Now it's more so Twitter, but word of mouth, and then just meeting people in real life. So thanks to social media platforms and that perspective, that it's been able to kind of give me a voice, which never really would have been possible. And you're able to do YouTube, right? Like it's really cool to have all these different platforms now and so many different voices. Absolutely. Just sharing our love for the Kings, right? We love to talk about a not great team, unfortunately, and hopefully that will change in the near future. But that's one of the cool things about this place is no matter how bad they are, we all still want to talk about it, and we all still want to share our thoughts and opinions on how they might just turn it around.
Exactly. I'm 100% with you. Just wanted to mention that you guys do a fantastic job on your channel. Thank you. Really do appreciate the coverage that you guys put out and work hard towards. And it's definitely, I can relate to like the growing up as a kid locally here in town. I was in middle school when the Sacramento Kings had when I fell in love with the actual Glory team. I was in the 5th grade when I first got my first Jason Williams white chocolate jersey, and my dad blessed me with that. So the rest was history.
Yep.
He took me to my first game at Arco when I was in my diapers, and the rest is just history. It's funny that you mentioned Chris Webber and Tyra Banks. It's funny because like Tyreek Evans' second year and DeMarcus Cousins' rookie year, we're at BJ's Brew House, and we're just after the game. They beat the Lakers, and we're just hanging out at the BJ's. And then Tyreek Evans actually walks over, and there's a table right next to where me and my friends were sitting. Like, hey, is it cool if we can take this table? And I'm like, oh no, go ahead.
It's yours.
Go ahead. So DeMarcus Cousins comes over, and like I'm wearing his jersey, and then like my friends are like, oh, aren't you gonna get a sign? Aren't you gonna get a sign? I'm like, dude, you know what? I don't want to bug them. Let them be when the time is right, and I'll definitely ask. So as we're leaving, DeMarcus calls me. Oh, he just hey, yeah, you want me to sign that? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even have to ask. Like, okay, like cool, like.
They totally respect it. That
totally
right?
respected it, and I just said, "Hey, great game, cuz great game, Tyreek. It was good to see you guys, and I appreciate you guys signing my jersey." So I actually ended up having Tyreek sign it as well, and I got it framed on the other side of my man cave. But yeah, just experiences like that, going through the glory years. Obviously, to recently the last decade, a little over a decade now. I've just been a nonstop diehard fan. It's like the whole mindset of, oh, every year, yeah, this is a year, and you get to a stint where like, okay, you know what, that eventually is going to happen. And I'm pretty damn excited about Monty McNair and the regime that we have currently in place now. I feel like they're going to do what it takes to get this right, and that's the plan. End this drought.
I'm with you.
That's the plan. End this drought, get it right. I want to talk about the current state of the team. So we just came off of another preseason win last night against the Los Angeles Clippers from the Staples Center. How do you feel about the vibe? I know it's preseason, but I feel pretty good. I mean, I think Luke Walton has done a great job of just kind of having this team gel early on. Credit to all the coaching staff as well. Yep. And I think the core players look good. I think that Davion Mitchell, it doesn't look like he's a rookie. I've spoken highly of Davion Mitchell in the past. What got me on with Davion Mitchell was just watching him play through the college basketball tournament. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if there's always going to be a chance to draft this kid. I know, considering the fact that we have a Tyrese Halliburton, we have a De'Aaron Fox. I just had a feeling that, hey, if he's on the board, he could be an option for Monty McNair's staff. And, oh, man, we get him at number 9. So, with that being said, I'm glad. I know that this fan base is very passionate about who we draft and the players that come and go. And there's some mixed emotions by drafting Davion Mitchell and our Kings Twitter handle. So with that being said, I'm excited. It gets me excited, and I really am looking forward to seeing Davion continue to play well and just have a positive cultural effect on the team. What's your take on the current team right now, where they're sitting at 2-0 in the preseason, and how do you feel about Davion Mitchell?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And I think every game he plays, maybe the nerves or the doubts that people had, you're just seeing it chip away, right? Just the vibe he brings is different, right? When he comes in, how many years have we had to say, oh, if we just had the effort, like bring the effort, or if coaches had to say, oh man, we really have to bring that effort. If you're on the court with him and you're not bringing the effort, it was glaring before, it's even more so glaring now. Even with a guy like Tristan Thompson, who I was very questionable about because I was such a DeLon Wright fan.
Yeah.
And you just, right, he's had his off the court issues, but he's never had anything on the court, and he's always seemed to be pretty consistent, and he's a good rebounder, which the Kings have struggled with. But even when he's on there, he's constantly tipping balls away, like he's running around. That if he's not over there, he's at least attempting, right, to extend a play. And so guys like Davion and Thompson, especially to fans like us, we love that stuff. Like, you become fan favorites, right? And sure. Holmes just got a new 4-year contract of doing that when, he came in off the bench. So I've been really impressed what he was doing to Paul George yesterday was really impressive. And that was kind of my thing with him was, I know he can defend, but I just want to see it against legit NBA talent,
Yeah.
right? Like we
Yeah.
know he can do it, but we still have to see it against these guys. And what he did against Paul George was super impressive. And the game before that, what he did against Peyton,
Yeah.
and what he did against Cameron Payne. And that's the thing, is every night, right, he's going to be going against backups, stars. Like it's going to vary depending on who you're playing and if stars are resting or in or not. But it was nice to see that we've seen it against some taller players, some shorter players, a star, a not star. Again, I know it's only game 2, but it was super noticeable to me. And he's already averaging a steal and a half between the 2 games. And then what I thought was noticeable is Harkless has been playing with him for the most part, and so has Terrence Davis, and they're both averaging 2 steals a game. So we saw this in Summer League too. Even if he wasn't getting the steal, he was causing his player to make a bad pass for another player to get a steal. You know what I mean? Like he was the foreshadowing of them making the turnover for someone else. So Tyrese also has been playing the 3-guard lineups with him. He's averaging two steals a game. So I mean, you're seeing Harkless was 1 steal and Halliburton was 2. Yes. But again, you're seeing steal, right? Like you're seeing the turnovers, which is awesome. I'm not his offensive game, I think, will come. And to me, that's just the cherry on top. If he's bringing the defense, anything you get on the offensive end is just cherry on top. And he doesn't seem like, at least yet, he's really forcing anything. He kind of lets it come to him, which he did in college too. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like even with Bagley right now, this team desperately needs defense. So anyone that's going to bring us defense, to me, you're a glaring bright spot. The unfortunate thing for Bagley is he's fine on offense, right?
Absolutely.
But the Kings are fine on offense, and his defense is kind of the glaring factor right there. And so I just hope that he can keep building the foundation that he has. And you see him working out with Doug Christie a lot. Maybe, things can seep in there. Yeah. But to me, the only way he's going to get better defensively is if he stays healthy and on the court. So to me, a healthy Bagley will only help the Kings, you know what I mean, as the season goes. It was nice to see Fox yesterday have a typical Fox game. I wasn't really worried after, the first game.
Yeah.
And his thing too is, as he says, his biggest thing that he needs to improve on this year is defense. He's not a bad defender. He just needs to show it more, which, you know what I mean? Plenty of players in the NBA need to show it more. But for the Kings to succeed, they need a lot of these guys just to show it more on defense. And if you've listened to me on the podcast, since last year and this year, it's just be average. Like you can be average and even a little bit below average, and you're still giving yourself a shot. Like we're not asking you to all of a sudden be New York and be a top 5 defense. Like if you can just be under 20 or even in just the low 20s, you're giving yourself a shot. And I think the fact that in this big playoff drought, it's glaring that the Kings have actually not finished under 20, which continued to show why they're not really giving themselves a chance come the end of the year when everyone's picking it up, right? They're kind of still floundering. So I'm optimistic this year. I agree with you. I like what Monty's doing. And my biggest thing with him is I like that he's not really forcing anything. I totally understand we're in a 15-year drought. Yeah. He took over, right, the drought, but he's still on year 2, right? I mean, and really we haven't even had a full second season, right, of him on the job. We're a year and a couple months, maybe
over a year,
right? Because he took over just a month or 2 prior to now, or maybe even now because of the late start. Yep. So realistically, in like a calendar year, it hasn't been, it hasn't been that long. And so we're seeing guys like Ben Simmons, their value continue to come down. We saw him be active, right, trying to do the buddy trade.
Mhm.
So again, and really, if he had completed the bogey trade and the buddy trade, I don't think anyone would have any questions about him right now. Like
Yeah.
everyone would be loving what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, and I get those deals didn't happen, but there hasn't been a deal that I've heard or that he's, completed that I haven't like necessarily been, I've been a fan of him, or I could at least now with the Tristan thing, I can see the vision that he's going with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you see a type of player, right, or a style. And so I like that he's not veering away from that. So
Yeah.
even if people were questioning the Davion Mitchell pick, it fits the style that he's going for.
He's going for it.
So again, that's nice to see after a couple of years of people just kind of throwing darts of trying to do the quick, right? The quick minimal rebuild, because we never really did the full total rebuild of blowing things up and doing that. I know we want to say the Marcus thing was a full blow up, but we ended up getting Fox. So I mean, at that point you were going right back up. So yeah, just as you said, I'm optimistic. I go into every season hoping for the best, expecting the worst.
Yeah.
And just enjoying it along the way.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there as well. And I feel like let's going back to like the Tristan Thompson, DeLon Wright trade. I enjoyed DeLon Wright's, half of the season that we got from him. Just a fantastic high IQ player and just overall a true class professional. I wasn't too bummed out about that trade, knowing the fact that we drafted Davion Mitchell and knowing the fact that knowing the fact that we still have Buddy Hill on the team, we still do. And then we got Terrence Davis, who we just re-signed as well. I wasn't really upset about the trade. I just felt like, okay, if this is the best we're going to get, let's just see where it goes. And it just feels like the vibe that I'm getting from Tristan Thompson. I mean, it's like, it reminds me a lot of like Iman Shumpert. Like he's like
100%. Yeah.
He's like just the vibe that he brings, and it's like that sports mentality and like a good locker room guy, a veteran to the youngsters. And I'm just getting that Iman Shumpert vibe because, I hate going back in time. I really wish Iman Shumpert was retained. I really wish he was retained because I really felt like that drought would have ended under Dave Yeager's third year. Just my opinion. But I felt like the chemistry just fell off after Iman Shumpert left. Like a huge drop off in chemistry. This is nothing against Harrison Barnes.
The players even said it the day it happened, right? In the locker room, they were like, it feels different. Yeah. They were really upset. And I think that speaks to this team too, that we think that, someone who's not necessarily getting paid 20 million shouldn't have that much of an impact. But I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are humans and everybody leads different. And if that's how these guys are, then you need that kind of guy, right? And so if Tristan can be like that, like you said, 100%, it makes sense.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm staying optimistic. Just the vibe that I got from these two games. I know it's, like I said, it's only preseason, and then we got the two remainder games against the Blazers and the Lakers next week, and then it starts for real in Portland in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to ask you about Luke Walton. So Luke Walton is going into his third season. The first two seasons, he did what he can. 31 games each in this era so far that the team has won. Obviously, the stakes are higher going into your third year, and the team has been.
I think it's kind of make or break, right? It sure seems like it's make or break for him.
I was gonna say it's make or break. Me personally, I thought there was a good chance he would have not been retained after last season, considering the fact that we won 31 games and we went on those multiple 9-game losing streaks. That's 18 games right there. And I feel like due to better consistency, that record could have been better. It should have been better.
And they would have made the playoffs, right? Cut those in, or just even if you lost during that stretch, like just having 2 wins, right, in that 9 stretch would have put you in the playoffs, right? Of each one of those, that's 4 wins. Yeah. So 100% that can't be acceptable this year.
And I'm very critical of his, just like his tactics of his coaching philosophy. It's like numerous times, Jillian, like last season, I was pulling my hair just like seeing Marvin Bagley hang out on the perimeter. And I'm like, I get it. He had a career year shooting the ball from beyond the arc last season. I get that. That's great to see. But Luke, put him in the paint. Why is he not in the paint? Like, why is he hanging out on the perimeter most of the game? And I really felt like he was misused a lot, but then he gets hurt and then he's out for a while. So I just felt like Luke Walton can possibly potentially put him in better positions to succeed this season. Maybe put him more in the paint. Whereas knowing the fact that I mean, I understand that to stay on the court, you got to have a jump shot, you got to shoot from the perimeter. But I feel like we haven't seen the best of Bagley yet.
You don't have to do it every time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like we don't have to. I feel like we know what we got in Fox. We know what we got in Halliburton, and potentially right now, for what it looks like, we know what we got in Davion, who can become a great two-way guard in this league. I just feel like we haven't seen the best of Marvin Bagley yet. That's due to the nagging injuries that we know of, and that's just due to him not properly being utilized in positions to succeed. So as a coach's job, I feel like it's on the coach to put your players in the best position to succeed. How do you feel about Luke Walton's coaching tactics?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on the Bagley situation. It was either yesterday's podcast or the one before. I think it was yesterday's. I was saying how even I was already noticing again how good of a rebounder Bagley is.
Yes.
There were multiple opportunities when you're watching the game that he's standing in the corner, which I get it. He's probably being told to stand there, right? Like, I don't assume that he's just standing out there because, and someone else takes a jump shot and misses. There's no one there to rebound. Yep. And so, and it was very noticeable a couple plays later when he wasn't standing in the corner and he was at the basket, somebody shot it. He got the rebound. He tipped it in. Like, and right, that's why they drafted him. He has this great second jump, right? The second jump doesn't matter if he's behind the 3-point line, right? You're never going to see it. And so I totally understand that they're stretching him because unfortunately with the roster construction of that, it's almost like they're trying to replicate Belly because they don't have another stretch big man other than like Metu, who's still super green and young, right?
Yeah.
That Holmes is not stretching, he does the push shot, but that's to an extent. And so I do understand that they're trying to stretch it because they know that's going to help Fox, right? Stretching out the defense, sure. But there's got to be, I agree with you. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere, or mix him in lineups to where he can get down there. Because if he's playing, let's see, what is he averaging? He's averaging 20 minutes a game. And his rebounding is 4.5. That
just doesn't cut it.
He's got, like, and the thing is we know he can get the rebounds. And that's Absolutely. Part of the reason why we're saying it doesn't cut it, because he's also not being put in the position to be able to get the rebounds.
Exactly.
So you're seeing Tristan, right? In his 14 minutes, he's getting 7.5. Well, he's not stretching anything. He's at the basket.
It's the basket.
So however, they have to find ways, and maybe he plays some 5 with some small ball. We'll end up seeing that. But but that also kind of shows in the sense where is the roster kind of forcing him right out to where this is the last year on his contract and it's the Kings are going to have to make some decisions. Right. And I hope the best for the kid, but also in the same sense where he's almost being pushed out by the roster as well. So it'll be interesting because he does have that 11 million, but again, he'll be a restricted free agent. And it's for some that'll be an expiring and a shot at someone. Yep. And maybe his stretch ends up being good enough this year that the rebounds won't matter to us. We'll end up seeing, but at this point, to me, that's kind of been glaring when he's on the court, is that I'm with you, is that he's not being utilized to his best strengths until that outside threat becomes a permanent threat. And then I think you've unleashed a whole different side of his game. And he can be used in multiple ways, but until you're there, it's kind of tough to see that you're not getting to utilize his stuff in addition to him working on other things. So I 100% agree with you on that'll be interesting to see with Luke, how that moves forward. And what I'm hoping this season with him, and he's even been saying this, is that I think he's feeling the pressure, I would assuming, And that they've set a bar and a standard, and if you're not meeting that, you're not going to be getting your normal minutes no matter what contract you have, right? And I'm 100% for that.
Yeah.
We want to win, right? Like as fans,
Absolutely.
I don't care who's on the court.
Absolutely.
I want to see the team succeed.
Absolutely.
So I do like moving Buddy to the bench. I do think that that's really smart. And I mentioned over the summer too that there was a scenario to where I was interested to see a Mitchell Buddy pairing and how that would work. And I thought that would benefit him,
Yeah,
and take a little bit of the load off of him, right? Playing with a
totally.
really good defensive player. And so yeah, and we've seen him where I've been impressed where he's down, in the defensive position all the time. His head's on a swivel. He's
Mhm.
moving, his hands are out. Like it's probably the most effort I've probably just in these two games, like where um he doesn't look totally lost out there, which is, awesome for us
Yes.
and for himself. And I think that's how he's going to get his minutes. Um, for the most part, I've been okay with his shot selections. There's been a couple every game where he's put the shot up at the beginning of the shot clock when there's still like 20 seconds left, and he's
Yes.
multiple feet behind the 3-point line. I get it. But he's short on everything. So take one step in. He has the space. Take a step in and shoot it.
Mhm.
Or just move the ball around. I don't care as much when he's missing, when he's getting really good shots. And most of his shots right now, they've been wide open. So again, I have no problem with the shot selection and that end, because eventually I do think that it'll go in. Um, at least history tells us with him that it will.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been impressed in his defense, so far. And I want to keep seeing that improve, because I do think where you're seeing like where a Terrence Davis might not give you as much on the offensive side, he still gives you, a good amount,
Yeah.
but he's also, I think, a better defender, right? So
I'm with you.
I'm
Yeah.
all for making these guys work and earn their spots, um and do what you have to do that's best for the team. You're already seeing it from other teams.
Yes.
Minnesota is another one where the big hot topic right now is Beasley, if he's going to be coming off the bench or starting, because he was a starter last year.
Yeah.
And Finch already came out and said, I think his talents can best be utilized going against players not in the starting lineup, which that's how I feel about buddies, because those two players are very similar in the sense that they're streaky and they can shoot the outside shot.
Yes.
So if you can get going against not as good as players on the bench, I'm all for, getting them hot and then giving them the minutes forward, right?
Yep.
Not worrying as much about who's starting. If he's getting the minutes, he should be fine.
Yeah.
And if your points per game are going up because you're playing against worse defenders, especially going against the West, where your bench is going to be not as good as your starters.
Yep.
I don't know how he wouldn't be happy with that. I know some guys have a hard time with the starters bench mentality, but
Yeah.
and I think it helps. We've seen Fox and Halliburton have really good chemistry, and again, I think it helps Fox having another initiator, and Tyrese is just so smart on the basketball court.
Man, he's
It's
amazing.
so impressive.
He's super impressive, Jillian. I just the vibe that I get from Tyrese Halliburton when we drafted him and just coming in from last season and then this season, I think we got a real gem. He's awesome. I mean, he's can do everything, play make offensively when he's quiet offensively. I mean, like last night, for example, he was pretty quiet. He was 2 of 8 from the field goal overall, but he still found ways to contribute. He had 5 boards, he had 5-6 assists in the time that he got. And I just like it. I like the kid a lot. I just think that his leadership is so important to the team overall. And that chemistry that he has with De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt. it's extremely important to have him start alongside De'Aaron Fox. I want that De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton era to start. And I think Buddy Hield is better suited to coming off the bench because, as you mentioned, just having a deeper bench with Buddy Hield coming in, getting buckets with the Davion Mitchell. And alongside, you can, have Terrence Davis come in as well. Put them all three on the court off the bench. And that's just shots left and right there. I mean, even like Buddy Hield last night, in 22 minutes, he shot up like 13 attempts at threes. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But I know that,
and really 10 of them were actually good shots. It was, there's that couple. And so again, if playing off the bench is getting you those quality looks, like we're all for it.
We're all for it. And like, I get the fact that he may be iffy about coming off the bench, or like in the past, but we had Bogdan Bogdanovic and Luke Walton named him the starter, and Buddy he wasn't okay with that. But I feel like, whether you start or come off the bench, the amount of minutes you get, whether you're playing well defensively or offensively, is going to determine that. And I think that on paper right now, it just looks like Buddy Hield is better suited coming off the bench. And I'll be honest, I didn't think Buddy Hield would be on the roster, if I'm being completely transparent.
Well, you know what? And I don't think he did either. And he said that he's had, the conversations with Luke, and if he truly, whether he wants to be here or not, and their conversation is, what, like, we need you to do what we need you to do. And so far, Buddy hasn't said anything. So it seems to be, and he even mentioned in his talks, his interviews, that they've had the discussions. He knows his role. He's good with it. Like, it's been clear. Okay. But on his end, if you really do want out, if coming off the bench increases your production and gets you back to what got you your contract, right, in the first place, as a player, I would think you'd want to do whatever you had to do to get that value back up, right? We saw the Lakers with interest, but they're also in a very particular situation. Same way we want, everyone wants to pair him with Philadelphia, because again, it's a particular situation. And so he doesn't necessarily fit every roster, even though he does one thing really well.
Absolutely.
He still would be best utilized on a good team. And so where he can do what he does best. So I think it sounds like there's been an agreement between the two that whatever they have to do going forward, that they're good. And at some point, if you've wanted to be traded and hasn't happened, you keep playing with your current team, like your current team's paying you, and you're still getting your minutes. You just have to accept the fact that it is what it is.
Exactly.
And if you want to get to the playoffs, you want to do all these things, you're seeing ex players go and do it. But I will say that most of our talks are what he's done, his feelings previously. I will say it's been really cool. We all summer long, even after the not trade, and when there was talk that Halliburton was going to be the starter, and through training camp and these first couple preseason games, we haven't heard anything of the sort from him. He's been a team player. You can see the effort. Like, he's not out there not trying because he's not starting. So in that sense, I really appreciate the non off the court drama and and all that he's Absolutely. He seems to be doing what's best for the team. And so kudos to him, at least till, as far as this point, that he's been able to do that. Absolutely. And then we haven't talked about Black Falcon. I mean, Harrison Barnes. I feel like we never talk about Harrison Barnes just because he just like you expect it. And so it does. Same with Holmes, right? Like, it's just expected, so they don't get talked about, but they are your consistency. So again, love those guys. Super happy Holmes is back. Yes. I love at that price too. That's huge. And Harrison's just Harrison Barnes. You gotta love the guy.
You gotta love him. True pro. True class. And Rashad Holmes, I'm super excited for him to come back. I mean, to his stand, I thought there was a moment there he could have left, but came back on the deal that he got. I'm like, wow, okay. He, as a free agent, decided to stick it out and chose us to stay here, remain here, and be a part of the core moving forward. So I'm pretty excited for Rashad Holmes to thank him a lot. And it's a great family. Just Mama Holmes, Papa Holmes, they're all great people. It's just great to see and know that they'll be remaining in Sacramento for the next 4 years. So the Western Conference, this it is what it is right now. It is what it is. Brutal as it is. The Sacramento Kings
Right.
are trying to end this drought. Let's say all things go well as we anticipate. We have expectations higher. The stakes are higher this year for Luke Walton. Let's just say things go well. They become a good defensive team. Many steps. Offense is not a problem. We know what we're capable of offensively. Let's say they somehow crack in the play-in and they get somewhere in the top 8. Does Luke Walton, knowing the fact that he's in his 3rd year, and you end the drought, you make the playoffs, does he get extended?
I wouldn't be surprised at that point if he did. If the play is consistent and he's clearly getting more out of these guys than what was previous. And he seems to have a good working relationship with Monty. It wouldn't surprise me. And at that point, I would think that the players would want him back. That at that point, they're legitimately showing some building blocks. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they would keep him around.
Okay.
Because with how hard the West is going to be, right? As we say, as always, okay. And it's probably going to take close to 40 wins, if not that, even just to get into the play-in. Like, it's going to be close. I mean, it's going to be high 30s.
Exactly.
At least, they're going to have to be 500, I would think, to make the playoffs. So if he can get that much of a jump from those guys, and it looks like it can be sustained, that it wasn't a fluke, then I would be more shocked probably if they didn't, keep it going at that point. If they want to talk about the continuity, and the continuity has led to that, finally, then you kind of be going back on the whole point of keeping them this year to begin with.
Yeah. And in the past, obviously, as majority I've expressed my concerns and frustrations over the past with Luke Walton's coaching tactics and his coaching philosophy. But I'm not gonna lie. All that's in the past is a new season. I'm rooting for Luke Walton. I'm not rooting for him to fail. I obviously want to root for him to succeed and help be a part of this change and ending this drought. So I have a clean slate with Luke Walton. I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping that he gets it figured out this season. I just feel like, Dave Yeager, knowing the fact that his coaching style was like, more of a half court offense back when his Memphis Grizzlies days, and he comes to Sacramento, he switches up his coaching philosophy. We're more of an up-tempo team, and we're run and gun. So I just feel like Luke Walton can definitely get it together consistently, especially with the defensive end. And I feel like this is a big year for Luke Walton. And I think that, fingers crossed, that all goes well for Luke Walton and the coaching staff. It's great to see Doug Christie be added to the coaching staff. I really think that's going to help tremendously. Just another voice for the players, and teaching on the defensive end, and helping Marvin Bagley in particular with this defensive schemes and just overall defensive-minded presence on the court or on the sideline with them. So I'm pretty excited for that as well. What do you anticipate the starting 5 opening night? What do you think the starting 5 is going to be?
My best guess is going to be what we saw the first game of the preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Buddy coming off the bench. Yeah, I would be shocked if that's not at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I know he tried out Thompson yesterday, but I don't see any case where Holmes isn't starting come day one.
Yeah.
And I don't see a situation where Tyrese isn't starting.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe then, if depending on what we see next preseason game, I don't know, maybe if he's still going to throw the Buddy Hield playing the 3-1 at us, or not. I think that could be the only not really surprise one, but the one we haven't seen yet, but we saw last year.
Yeah.
Where you have Buddy playing the 3, right, and Harrison playing the 4. But I wouldn't be shocked if it ended up being the was it Fox, Halliburton, Barnes, Bagley, and Holmes.
That's what I have my starting 5: Fox,
Yeah.
Halliburton, Barnes, Bagley, and Holmes. I know that when you think of the roster, like, oh yeah, 3 locks for sure that would be starting is Fox, Holmes, and Barnes. I mean, there's been some, with the whole Buddy coming off the bench or starting. I feel like Halliburton is just better suited to come starting and having Buddy come off the bench. And I feel like Marvin Bagley's in for a big, healthy season. I think we're gonna see the best of Marvin Bagley this season, and I feel like the important thing is obviously staying healthy. And I feel like he's poised. He's got a chip on his shoulder to prove that.
Yeah.
And he, like you said, he's in a contract year, and
he's got a lot to prove, right?
He's got a lot to prove, and we want to see the best of it, because we obviously, unfortunately, haven't seen that because of his nagging injuries. And I feel like the best is yet to come from Marvin Bagley, and I'm rooting for the kid. I know our fan base is very, when it comes to Marvin Bagley, they're very critical, but.
Yeah.
If you got a Sacramento Kings jersey across your chest, like, I'm rooting for you no matter what.
A good Marvin Bagley only helps the Kings. Like, that's, I mean, right at the end of the day,
exactly.
No matter how you feel about the kid, a good Marvin Bagley only helps the Kings. And I mean, regardless of how you feel about him or any other player, I hate seeing young guys like who, who show all that promise.
Yeah.
And it's not, and you're just seeing it because they can't stay on the court, right? And unfortunately, the best for a lot of players is availability, right? It's
absolutely.
Unfortunately, he's just had some really bad luck, because it's not like he's entering the same things over and over. It's fluke things. And so
yes.
And unfortunately, you're not going to see progress unless he can actually get on the court and get, real court time, right?
Yes.
That's how he's going to learn. Absolutely. And so, as hard as it is that he's in year 4, the accumulation still of what he's seen as a player is half the time that he's been in the league. And so that's hard for anybody. I mean, and then you compare him to, look what the GM poll just came out with. You have another player in Jaron Jackson Jr. who literally is going through the same thing. Yeah. And every GM just voted for him to probably be the most improved player. So again, there's no reason why Bagley couldn't be the same. Unfortunately, the only difference for Bagley and Jaron is Jaron's known for his defense. And so, unfortunately for Bagley, at least for this time, unless you're a really good defensive team already, I think it's hard for teams to want to trade or want to do those things because it's just not there yet, or at least for that kind of price. So again, if he can keep showing that progress, then it's only going to be good for him. It's only going to be good for us. And everybody will be happy.
Everybody will be happy. Yep. Everybody will be happy. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Tonver Atwall and Kyle Allen. You guys' support is super appreciative. Thank you guys so much for always bringing that energetic energy on Twitter or in the comment section. I really do appreciate that. Jill, it's long overdue. Like, the Knickerbockers got their moment and chance last season. The Phoenix Suns, I mean, who would have thought? They had a fantastic year. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way they wanted to, with Giannis going crazy in that closeout game and just putting on a clinic. But my younger cousin's still not recovering from that, because my younger cousin, he's a big diehard Suns fan, and he's just like, okay, you know what, Giannis
still hurt.
We're gonna bounce back. I'm like, all right, the Western Conference is gonna be a lot tougher this year, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this season, especially for our Sacramento Kings. I think it's overdue, long overdue. We want it. We're hungry. We want to end the drought. And I really think that, just looking at the way those two teams took the steps last season, realistically, more of the Knickerbockers, they kept the same core players, and they, made some defensive pickups here and there. And of course, that goes with having a great defensive-minded coach in Tom Thibodeau. So we've seen them take off, and we see them become really good last season and relevant. and I'm just hoping and praying that our Sacramento Kings follow those steps and get to
I'm
where
right
they
there
need
with
to
you.
be. So
Even after watching, I'm a Giants fan. After this, the
okay.
Giants had an 8% chance
Uh-huh.
to make the playoffs at the start of the year. That was the percentage they were given.
Okay.
8%, and they finished with the best
And
record in the league. Like, I
we,
mean, yeah, I know you're seeing it in different sports. We saw it, multiple teams last year. We
yeah,
just saw it with the Giants. Like, you never know, right?
you
That's why
just
you play.
yeah.
Like we always say, right? That's why you play.
And
And so
how you feeling about the first game tomorrow night against the Dodgers? I got some
nerves.
I got some buddies going to that game, so I'm looking forward to seeing their Twitter and their
Yep.
Snapchat. So
Yep.
they're pretty hyped about it, but it's crazy because it was just like, oh wow, they're both going to be playing against each other, and the Dodgers are who they are, and the
In the
Giants
first round.
in the first round,
Like,
and I'm like,
I
wow,
mean, yeah.
wow, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that series. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Giants do, and obviously, we want the Giants to win because we don't support any team from Los Angeles, right?
Right.
So, do you watch football as well?
I do. I'm a 49er fan.
Okay, I'm a 49ers
Yeah.
fan too. So quickly,
Born and raised on that, right? Going to
yes.
Rockland
Oh
when
yeah.
they used to have the training camps, and my parents are diehard that. And we used to have season tickets for the 49ers, but Jerry Rice's rookie year was also the year I was born. And so my parents took me out there again for training camp stuff. So I have the picture of him as a rookie
Nice.
holding me as a baby. So
Oh,
that's one of
sweet.
my like shining ones.
Heck
But yeah,
yeah.
so you can see it. Like, I mean, I watch every sport. Like, I'm pretty much a fan of every sport possible. I play fantasy in all of sport possible between
Nice.
football, basketball, hockey,
Okay.
Premier League. Like, it's
Oh man.
yeah, I
My my
Liverpool
my,
fan.
my mom's side of the family, they're from London. So like the other day, like they I got my Cristiano Ronaldo Man United kit in, and I'm like, whoa, this is nice. Thank you, family. Actually, I watch a lot of I mean they're all Liverpool. Some of my uncles, they're actually Liverpool fans, and most of my cousins from my mom's side of the family, they're all Manchester United fans. So when I get a chance, because the time zones are different.
Yep.
So
Yep.
on the weekend games, like if I'm up super early, I'll get a chance to chime in and tune in.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. It's just crazy. Like Ronaldo's back home, and I'm like,
It's
whoa.
after so long. I know.
And like
Yep,
Man City like tried to do like acquire him or Messi, and I'm like, wait, United just came in last minute and got the deal done. So I'm like, oh wow, this is happening. Like he's coming back home. So, and Liverpool, I mean, Klopp and Mo Salah,
man. Yep.
yeah, Salah's exciting. I don't hate Liverpool, but it's just funny because when they both play, my uncles were on one side and my cousins are on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, they've been to Man United games, they've been to Anfield games. So it's like it's cool to kind of have that rivalry renewed, I guess, should I say. But once a
And
rivalry,
it's just
always a
cool.
rivalry.
They're the fandoms there, right? And how ingrained they are in their cities. Like, it's not like, I mean, I could say like I've had people tell me like it's kind of similar in that sense, just because we are for so long we were the one town team, and it's been ingrained here, but it's like a whole nother level. And just the fields being literally right in the middle of neighborhoods, and just you legitimately feel like it's your team.
Actually,
and so it's so cool.
It is cool, like you said. And like I actually toured the Manchester United Stadium. I went to London back in 2018, and we took a train to Manchester. And like driving, you can see like Man City's stadium on the left side and like Old Trafford's on the right side. You're like, whoa, like Sir Alex Ferguson said, noisy neighbors. And now I know what he meant, because like they're like really like they're like next to each other. And I'm like, okay, so it's man. Because now seeing my cousins like, oh, so Manchester City, they've had their moments. They've been good the last couple of seasons. I just tease them like, oh, hey, so Manchester is blue, right? And like, they're like, no, it's always red. It will always be red. And it's crazy because like their fans, when the games happen, the opposing fans, like they have to be sit like separately to compare like to a home team. They can't sit together because so many fights break out. And
then you have them marching down the streets, and then it's so cool. And I studied abroad over there too. And how depending on where you went, like you had your local bars, supporting over here, and then you had another one over here, and it's okay if you're a fan of this one, you're not going to this one and wearing this stuff, and you're not going over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's such a different experience, but so yeah, it's fascinating to see how that kind of stuff all plays out.
By the way, I love the shirt. That was actually my first
Thank you.
my first magazine. I remember that in the 5th grade, going to the store with my dad, and I'm like, oh, I see Jason Williams and Chris Webb on the stands. I'm like, oh, Dad, I want this. He's like, all right. So I still have it. So it's definitely stored in a great place, but that's an awesome shirt. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think it was Kevin Phippen that I think it was this summer he posted a link out to it that it doesn't know, it's not always in stock, and so it was like, hey, what's in stock?
nice.
And so I'd been trying to get it, and I was like, yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, you know what?
It's a fun one.
That's awesome, Jillian. And like I said, keep doing what you do. You're fantastic at what you do. And,
thank you. Ditto.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. That's pretty much going to do it. That's all I have. We want to appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Please hit the like and subscribe. I'll link down Jillian's links in the description below. Go show her some love and support. Jillian, it was a pleasure having you on. Anything else you want to say before we end this? Do you plan on attending any of the games this season? I'll be there at the
eventually, yeah. Okay. As it goes, still kind of waiting to see their whole process, but I mean, I'm fully vaccinated and all that stuff, so I can do all that. But yeah, it depends on the podcasting schedule that we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. For and sure. So again, yeah, go ahead and listen to Hoop Ball Kings. We're doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. But yeah, no, I plan to make it out there okay. At least to some games, but between work and then the podcast, it'll just depend on scheduling that. And now that you're able to still do stuff over Zoom as that goes, yeah. So, but sure. and I find that it's easier for me, like where I love talking with fans on Twitter, during games and things like that. And it's not as easy to do when you're at the games, but you also still want to get those experiences too. So for sure, there'll be times I'm there, and then
100%. I'll be there. I plan on being there opening night, the first home game against the Jazz. They are the Utah Jazz. So I'm looking forward to it. First home game of the season, and throughout the season, I definitely plan on attending some games. So hoping to kind of see you out there at the Golden One, run into each other.
Same.
And I'm looking forward to the season. And like I said, I'll go ahead and link your descriptions in the description below. And Jillian, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I'm looking forward to hearing you're seeing your tweets and hearing about you on Twitter.
Thank you.
We'll stay active on Twitter. So
right. Go Kings.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys take care. God bless. Keep pushing forward, and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.